So in the forum today, there was some discussion about the Ninja Star, and a point was made about latency and its impact on gameplay. And I personally haven't seen a huge impact of latency on gameplay unless there's network issues or things like that. But I did want to test out and see exactly what was going on. Now, I'm not actually going to test latency itself, but FRjhracing had made a comment that they had done some testing and found latency to be the equivalent of about 20 to 30 cubes when traveling at 200 miles per hour in game. And so I'm going to use that judgment because he did that with multiplayer. I'm going to use that measurement, and we're going to estimate about what the latency would be. So what I've done is I've created a bot, and if you notice, the bot fits between two consecutive darker lines, and that's exactly 25 cubes. And those 25 cubes will fit 4 times before you reach the next major line. So between two of the really dark lines, there's 100 cubes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to travel across the test field here, and we're going to see exactly how long it takes to go all the way down to the end there, which turns out to be about 500 cubes. And exactly 500 cubes is what I'm going to measure. And I'll pause the video when we're done, and I'll actually tell you the actual speed in cubes per second. So let's go ahead and fly across the test field here. Notice our maximum speed is climbing up to about 194, 195, so close to the 200. We've reached the other end, and I'm going to go now and see how long it took us to go through 500 of those cubes across the test floor here. So I'll be right back. So we're back, and you can see on the screen I've laid out that we had about 100 cubes per division. Well, actually exactly 100 cubes. And we traveled 5 major divisions for 500 cubes. And then what I've done is I've actually used the video to figure out exactly how much time it took to do that, and so we could figure out what our speed was. So it turns out that by looking at the frames on the video, I was able to figure out it took almost exactly 6.11 seconds to do those 500 cubes. And that basically means that we have 500 blocks in 6.11 seconds, which equates to about 81.83 blocks per second. So now that we have a block per second speed, we can figure out how much latency 20 to 30 blocks actually represents, because 20 to 30 blocks would be a fraction of the 81 blocks per second. So let's see what that works out as. Turns out that, if you have 20 blocks per second, that would be about 244 milliseconds of latency, and 30 blocks would represent 366 milliseconds. So it turns out that latency is about what my experience has been. My personal experience has been somewhere in the range of 250 milliseconds, unless of course there are serious issues going on with the server or with the network. So clearly, different speeds of bots will have different results, but I would say that this is probably a worst case scenario, because most bots don't go all that much faster than this. There are some that do go a little faster, but the average bot is not going to be going much faster than this. So somewhere under half a second, I think, is pretty safe.